In today's video, we are stepping into a very specific kind of horror, the kind that does not jump, does not scream at you with unnecessary close-ups, but still makes your nervous system tense up like it knows something's going to happen, even before the film's admitted. And no, Hereditary or the Babadook is not on this list, not because they are not masterpieces, but because this video is about a quieter terror. The kind that creeps in slowly, settles into the room with you, and waits. These are 3 films that sell fear by patience alone. Let's get into it. My first pick is The Woman in Black, a film that does not scare you by being loud or clever, but by sitting quietly in the room with you until the silence itself starts to feel hostile. Before we get into the story, a quick memory. It was 2013. I was in London with a few hours to kill and walked into a random theater. Daniel Radcliffe doing horror instantly sold me, so I bought a ticket without thinking twice. The movie did not turn out to be what I expected at all. It slowly became the first film that genuinely made me uncomfortable, not because I was realizing that I am the only soul in the theater, because, I kid you not, I am a horror buff. Empty spaces never scared me, until that day. The Woman in Black is not just a haunted house story, it is a psychological pressure chamber disguised as a period horror film. On paper, the setup feels almost boring. A young lawyer, Radcliffe, is sent to a remote village to close a simple estate. One house, one file, one final signature so he can go back to his life. But the moment he arrives, the town behaves like a place that has learned something terrible and agreed never to speak about it again. Doors close a little faster. Conversations stop mid-sentence. Silence follows him like a warning. The house itself is not loud. It does not announce its danger. It sits there, surrounded by fog and water, accessible only when the tide allows it, like the land itself is trying to keep people away. And when the haunting begins, it does not feel random. It feels deliberate, observant, almost personal. This is where the movie becomes deeply unsettling. The horror is not just a ghost seeking revenge. It is grief that has curdled into something toxic, a pain so unresolved that it leaks into the environment, infects the town, and punishes anyone who dares to acknowledge it. The scares work because they are timed with emotional vulnerability, not shock value. Every apparition arrives when the character is already cracked open. The genius of this film is restraint. It understands that fear lives longer when you let the audience sit with it. By the time the movie fully reveals its hand, you realize this was never about escaping a haunted house. It was about walking into grief, refusing to look away, and paying the price for it. My second pick would be Verónica, a Spanish horror movie that hits differently because the horror does not feel cinematic. It feels domestic, ordinary, too close to real life. On the surface, it starts like something we have seen before. A teenage girl plays with a Ouija board during a solar eclipse. A bad idea, wrong timing, something follows her home. But that is just the doorway. The real horror of Verónica begins after that moment, when nothing explodes, nothing escalates dramatically, and life simply continues as if she is expected to handle it all. Verónica is not just fighting something supernatural. She is parenting her siblings. She is managing a household. She is grieving her father. She is doing adult emotional labor in a child's body. And that is where the film quietly tightens its grip. The entity does not arrive with spectacle. It shows up when she is exhausted, when she is alone, when no one is listening. The fear builds through routine, through repetition, through the feeling of being trapped in responsibility with no escape. Psychologically, this is a movie about pressure, about what happens when a young mind is stretched too thin for too long. The apartment feels smaller every night. Shadows linger a second too long. Sounds feel personal. And the scariest part is that even when something is clearly wrong, there is no safety net. No adult who truly steps in. No relief valve. What makes Verónica so disturbing is that the supernatural almost feels like a manifestation of neglect and grief, like something born from being unseen for too long. By the end, the horror does not feel like a curse that could have been avoided. It feels inevitable, and that is why it stays with you. Because the movie is not asking what happens when you open the wrong door. It is asking what happens when you are forced to grow up before you are ready, and the world never gives you room to breathe. And the third film is The Dark and the Wicked, and this is where the horror stops feeling external altogether. This movie does not feel like something attacking you. It feels like something waiting for you to give up. On paper, the story is painfully simple. A brother and sister return to their childhood farmhouse to care for their dying father. No cursed objects, no grand mythology. Just isolation, sickness, and a house surrounded by endless land where help feels impossibly far away. From the very first scene, the film makes one thing clear. Whatever lives here does not want to scare them away. It wants them to stay. Psychologically, this movie is brutal because it targets resignation. The fear does not spike, it erodes. Every day feels heavier than the last. The air feels wrong. Conversations trail off. Characters stop finishing sentences, like even language is losing the will to fight. The entity, whatever it is, feeds on despair. It shows up not when people are strong, but when they are already breaking. What makes the dark and the wicked so disturbing is how personal the horror feels. It does not tempt. It does not bargain. It simply convinces you that resistance is pointless. That hope is a lie you tell yourself to survive another hour. The scares land because they are timed with emotional collapse. By the time something truly horrific happens, your nervous system is already exhausted. This is not a movie about saving the day. It is about what happens when grief, guilt, and obligation trap you in a place that does not want you alive. It asks a terrifying question. What if evil does not need to chase you, because it knows you are not going anywhere? And when you step back and look at all three films together, a pattern emerges. The Woman in Black shows grief that poisons an entire town. Verónica shows responsibility crushing a child from the inside out. And The Dark and the Wicked shows despair so complete that it turns survival itself into an act of defiance. These movies understand something modern horror often forgets. The most effective fear is not loud, it is patient. It lets your nervous system react before your brain can explain it away. If this kind of horror stays with you longer than jump scares ever could, let me know in the comments which one unsettled you the most. And if you want more deep dives into films that crawl under your skin and refuse to leave, this is just the beginning.